Let us go ahead and welcome our guest interviewer for today, Dr. Joybert. Hello, welcome to this one-year mentorship open house. How are you doing
Thank
today?
you. Thank you so much, Adele. I'm doing okay. How about you?
I am doing well, thank you. We are honored to have you here today. I would let you do your thing, and you are our guest interviewer for today. The focus of the program is to discuss the heart of a mentor. And by the grace of God, you will be asking the questions today, and hopefully, many of our guests and many of mentees that are present here get to see the other side of what this journey has been to a man that has meant many things to many people here. We get to see the other side of where his heart is as he does this work. Thank you so much for being our interviewer today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I want to challenge you. Take some time, get a coffee, get some juice if you need to, because I'm about to take you on a ride that will transform your life forever. I have been invited by Dr. Madison to have this interview with him. For those of you who are guests, I am a guest, here on the platform also, but it is going to be a great time. Now, before I get into asking Dr. Ngafeeson his questions and hear his heart, his mind, his mission, his purpose, and what have you, let me take you backward on this concept of mentorship, because many times the word is thrown around and there is a better way to understand if I share a few things with you. You see, many times mentorship can be seen, especially in a community that we have, and I can say more than 90% are Africans in Africa and in the diaspora. Mentorship is not a Western invention. Mentorship is not a modern productivity concept. It is something that if you study the African landscape backward, it is something that has been embedded in our bloodline for so long. Let me give you two communities, two major communities that have produced. I'm from a business background. I do consulting, business, and research in this area. There are two communities in Africa that have produced the highest number of millionaires and billionaires. Number one, if you study the Igbo entrepreneurship system in Nigeria, you will see one of the most effective mentorship models in the world. A young boy finishes primary school, sometimes secondary school, and instead of maybe wandering and chasing credentials and degrees without direction in a continent like Africa, what happens? He is placed under a master, not a lecturer, not a theorist, a practitioner. For years, this young guy watches, serves, learns the trade, absorbs discipline, the right mindset, the work ethic, decision making, and so on. Then one day, this young guy is settled, as we call it. The master gives him capital, trust. You heard the testimony, network, the testimony, responsibility, and statistics has consistently proven that over 90% of any young man who goes through this process will succeed in business. The system has produced extraordinary concentration of millionaires across Nigeria, even South Africa, and the rest of the world. Let me bring you back home, Cameroon. The economic wealth of Cameroon is in the hands of one tribe of people, the Bamilikes. You cannot rise in politics in Cameroon without a Bamileke man behind you. They control the wealth system in Cameroon. Why? The same pattern exists among the Bamilikes. Families intentionally send their children to learn business under trusted mentors and masters. Not motivation, not inspiration, not excitement, but deep formation, transformation. And this is how wealth, resilience, and competence has been transferred from one generation to another within the Bamileke system. Dr. Ngafeeson is a man of faith. So I cannot end this without talking about the Bible. When Jesus Christ wanted to change the world, he did not gather a crowd. He selected 12 men, mentored them for years, formed disciples. He lived with them. He ate with them. He corrected them. He rebuked them. And then he trusted them with responsibility before he left. So what am I saying? This is an age-old system. And Dr. Madison Ngafeeson, I put it to you, if nobody has told you, that you are trading the path of legends, creating a system where you can begin to create a structure where many people can rise and become who they were called and ordained to be. To end this, when I made up my mind to get married to my wife, I gave her two contacts, the contacts of my mentor and my pastor. And I said, if I ever mess up in this relationship and marriage, if you talk to these two men, they have the capacity to shut me up at any time. Like I always say, if you're a young man and a young woman and there's no elder over your life that can shut you up, you are going to crash. Many have done that before you and I, and they failed. If we try that, we're going to fail. I don't know if my mentor is here, Eno Eyong Taka. He has mentored me for years. I am the man I am today because that man has held my hand in this life. That is my mentor. Therefore, Dr. Madison Ngafeeson, there is no other way to start this discussion than me asking you this one question to you. At the core of everything you have done for years, what is the burden? What is the conviction that drives you to invest so much that you do in the people that you have in this community?
So first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody that is here today. I want to thank all of the speakers that have spoken before. And I want to thank all of you who are here. We are over 100 of us here. I don't know if you noticed that. If you are coming through a webinar, you might not be able to see the people, but those of us who are in the on this other side, we're able to see. But I want to say thank you for coming, and so that we can have this discussion. We can sit around the fireside. I like Mama Joy, brought the African concept. We can sit around the fireside and just have a good discussion. But you asked me about where the burden is from and where that came from. You will not understand this unless you understand my story. When my mom was pregnant with me, my dad took a flight out of town, even though my little village did not have an airport. But my dad happened to have done that, right? So I did not grow up even with my mom. I grew up with my grandfather and my grandmother in a tiny little village in the grasslands of Cameroon. That village is called Sop. I want to say that because can any good thing come out of Nazareth? The answer is yes. It came before, it is coming now. But you see, I grew up with a spirit of rejection. I never really knew that was the case, right? Because when you grow up and your dad doesn't identify that you are the child, you might not even know that that's what it is. Because my maternal family did everything to love on me, to protect me, and to do all of that. So, but when I grew up enough to understand that concept, and to accept myself and to know that I am accepted in the beloved, then I made up my mind that for the rest of my life, I would value people and I would make them feel accepted. They would never feel like a stranger in my presence. They would never feel like they are unwanted, they are unloved, they are uncared for in my presence. And that started off something. Years ago, I would come. So some years ago, or I was here in the United States, and I happened to listen to Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou came to my university, the University of Texas, and she said something that transformed my life because it tapped into the core of who I am. She said this. He said, I am human and nothing human can be alien to me. I am human and nothing human can be alien to me. So it deepened that core concept. The people you meet every day, they are humans like you. How can you be greater than them? Now, how can you push back on them? How can you demean them? How can you not but lift them up because they are human like you and they are human like me?
Absolutely.
Then as I went through my journey, I read something that my mentor, Mr. John Maxwell, says. He said, put a 10 on everybody that you see. That means put a 10 on 10, everybody's face. So I made up my mind that before I meet anybody this day, before I would ever talk to anybody this day, it doesn't matter their race, it doesn't matter their color, it doesn't matter where they come from, how they speak, or how much money they have in their bank account. They are a 10 on 10 before I ever make the decision to meet them or before I ever know them. That is where I developed my value system and the burden to be able to train and raise people. It comes from my own experience growing up, the feeling of rejection, and how I turned that rejection into acceptance for all of the people that I have around me, begin with the closest to the people that I don't even know.
Incredible, incredible. That was really a defining moment, and our past, where we are coming from, play a big role to where we are going to and the impact that we can create. Now, my next question to you is, I ask this question from the place of experience because I get to mentor. I run a mentorship community focused on business and strategy and so on. And I know the personal cost of going the extra mile to mentor people. Now, what does it personally cost you as a father, as a husband, as a lecturer, a professor, and many other things that you do? What does it personally cost you to show up consistently for this community? And why are you willing to keep on paying that price? Because this is December and you're talking about next year mentorship already. So the cost is there, but yet you are still making up your mind to show up next year. So what is that personal cost? I think I want people to understand the cost you're putting on the line every single day to show up for this community.
So the community that we have right now is 9 years old. And for the last 9 years, we have held over 40 masterminds. I mean, when I talk about masterminds, I talk about classes that are running for 5 weeks and up. We have had over 40 something masterminds. Now, we have had masterminds where I'm in my home, I am in someone's home. We've had masterminds where I'm out of the country, I am in the country. I've had masterminds where I am in the car and out of the car. I've had masterminds where my dad passed away. I was in Limbe. There were no lights. And I had a torch light that I brought from here. And thank God that the internet was still on the phone. And I held a master class that way. I have never missed a master class. Never. I've never missed any of my mentorship sessions for the past 9 years of my life. Now, sometimes I have 2 hours of sleep in the night, and I have still got to get up and to do what I need to do. Most of the time when I host my mentorship call for Africa, Europe, and Asia, it is about midnight my time. So midnight Saturday, Sunday into about 2 hours into that day, and I still have to sleep maybe at 3 a.m., get up in the morning, go to church, come back, and then host another one for the Americas. Of course, it costs my time, it costs energy. I will not ask you to read a book that I haven't read myself. I will not ask you to study for something that I haven't studied myself. It costs me, my time, my energy, but it has cost me even money. Now, many people don't know that. When you are a mentor, You are the focus of other people's problems. There are people that come online and write to me in my inbox and they said all what they need is 2 million. They don't need much. It's not really much that they're asking for, just 2 million, and that'll be fine. And when they ask you, they truly believe that you are in the place to do that, and they believe that
Absolutely.
you should be doing that, and you care about them and you love them. So how do you respond to them? I cannot just say, get out. Who told you that I'm your father or whatever? You can't say that. So what do? It costs a lot to
Yeah.
be a mentor. Now, and that is just for people that are even strangers, and those that are people that maybe they're meeting me online and
Yeah.
writing to me. Now, how much more about the people that I truly care for, the people that are part of my community? I would say like Paul, who is hurt and I am not hurt.
Yeah.
Who is goes about naked and I don't feel pain on my inside. So it costs me spiritually, it costs me financially, it costs me mentally, emotionally, because all of those things are part of my journey. However, I choose to do it. It's still a choice. And if you get me up in the morning, I will still choose to be a mentor. Let me just give you one reason why I love to do what I love to do. And I'm saying this story, the person I'm talking about is in this forum right now. So it's something that is verifiable. So I am attending a conference in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, California, and it's a speaking and writing conference. And I'm listening to one of my speaking coaches, Lisa Nichols. And then, so because it was a speaking conference, I understood that this brother loves speaking like crazy. So I actually got a ticket for him to kind of join remotely via Zoom. And so at the end of that program, we had a kind of a feel-good moment where we were eating and celebrating and dancing and all of that. So as we we were on the rooftop of the Sheraton downtown Los Angeles, and then suddenly in my heart I get a prompting. I said, call this gentleman, and then let him see the atmosphere that is here. And then I wanted to show him what it looks like to be a speaker, the kind of community that you come into and the kind of people and the kind of things that they do. So I took my phone and it was WhatsApp, and I called. He was in Cameroon, and I called about probably 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, which is not a good time to call anybody. But I called him anyhow, and I said, you know what? And I showed him the place and the dancing and all of that. And I said to him, you know what? This is your life. One day, you too will be in this kind of a place. One day, you will experience this, because this life is possible for you. And then that program goes, finishes, and I don't even think anything about it. I even forget about it. Then 10 months after that time, it happened in 2022, 10 months after that time, and then he calls me, and he is telling me that he has an appointment at the US Embassy for an interview. So I said, oh, wow, if you have an appointment at the embassy for an interview, don't go to the embassy until I talk with you. Let us meet 1 week before your interview so that you don't forget what I'm about to tell you. And I'm going to coach you through what it takes to do a US interview at the embassy. And sure enough, like clockwork, he calls me the 1 week before. So I give him all of the advice. We were on the phone maybe for about an hour, 30 minutes or so. And I gave him all of the coaching, what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. And so 1 week passes by, and then he calls me one of the days and said, and he pretended as though he had a sad voice and said, remember that I had an interview at the embassy today, or supposed to have any? I said, yes. What about that? And then he kind of tries to play me a game, and they say, I was given the visa. Okay. I said, oh, wow, that's powerful. That's a good thing to celebrate, That's a good thing to celebrate. Now, but that was not the story. And then he says to me, but do you know that each time you talk to me, things move in my life, things shift, major shift. So I said, well, like I just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. Thank you very much. He said, no, you don't know what I'm talking about. And then he said, do you remember the day that you called me? It was very early in the morning, and then at the Lisa Nichols conference, and you showed me all of that. I said, yeah, I remember very well. And then he said, that night, I was contemplating ending my life because I said to myself, I've been doing all of these things for all of these years. No recognition. It's not putting food on my table. In fact, he sent me pictures when the person that he was living with, had pushed his things outside of the home. And because he had this dream, this dream, this dream, this dream, that he will one day become somebody, be a speaker, do great things around the world. And of course, our community doesn't really reward that.
Tell me about it.
And then he said, that is my story. And when you said that, I put myself together and I decided that I will continue to pursue this dream. Cut a long story short, today this gentleman makes his home right here in the United States of America. I still mentor him. I was with him about a week or two ago here in my home, and then he was on today. And by the end of this program, maybe he will put in a word. So when what you do stops people from committing suicide, when what you do grows people and brings their dreams to reality, how can you dare stop to do that? Because then you would have been, I would be a serial murderer to not live my dream and mentor people.
Absolutely. My goodness, my goodness. I don't know how you guys in the chat box in the Zoom call right now are feeling, but this is incredibly powerful. And words cannot describe. You see, many a times words cannot describe the impact of what you're doing. Words cannot describe. And sometimes it is how people reach back to you and what they say, and sometimes what they do, sometimes paints a little picture of the incredible impact of what you're doing. There was a time I was in Bamenda years ago, and I was just passing by the commercial avenue, and a young guy saw me and said, wait, Prof, because I used to teach in high school and all of that in Kumbu at the time. And I used to advise and give counsel and all of that. He said, enter this shop right now, pick a suit, pick a shoe, I'm going to pay for you. You changed my life in high school. And those are things you say, and you're just, doing what you feel that it makes sense to people. And when they talk to you or you see what is happening to them, it changes everything that, you're doing. Now, one thing about mentorship that you will find in a good mentor, you will find a mentor who, number one, corrects, number two, gives you high expectations, number three, sets high standards for you. You'll find that in any good mentor. For example, for my mentees, I do a lot of mentoring to challenge them to be thought leaders in their industries. And one thing that every mentee does is that you must read at least 100 articles per year from the finest university in the world in your field. So if you're in business, you must read 100 articles from Harvard University or a sister university. Just one of the things that I do to hold them in high standards to build bigger and go bigger. So I have done a few things with you, and I've seen the work that you do. And I was just thinking today, we have never met physically. Can you imagine? I was just thinking about this today. And you definitely are that high-level mentor. You correct? You have high expectations from your mentees. Yeah, I spoke about that. And you definitely set high standards for your mentees. So here's my question to you, Dr. Ngafeeson. How do you want your people in this community to interpret your corrections, your expectations, and the high standards that you set for them?
I think that the foundation of every good mentoring relationship is love. So I think I tell this, people that work with me know this, Adele's of the world, the Brights of the world. I think every one of them should know this. I tell them that I work with people that I love, care for, and respect. So in other words, the foundation of mentorship is truly love. If you don't love the people, don't leave them alone, right? If you don't really love
Absolutely.
the people, leave them alone. And so in fact, most of my sins that I've sinned have been sins trying to love people out of their trouble, right? They like, so you know, and 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 so I want them to receive discipline. I want them to receive
Mm.
correction because it comes from the heart of love. If I don't love you, I wouldn't correct you. I'll let you do whatever you are doing because after all, like I'll let that thing teach you a lesson. But I prefer to rather teach you the lesson than let whatever was to teach you a lesson, because the lesson is not from love. It's going to
Yeah.
come to show you that you cannot meet that dream, you cannot fulfill that dream. But when I say, okay, correct this, it's so that you can now fulfill that dream, you can now meet your goals, you can now become that person that you're supposed to be. So
Yeah.
every time correction comes, it comes from out of a heart of love. And hopefully, before the correction comes, you have had enough of the love to prove to you that this one is just a one-off thing that is to put you back in that shape, and not that is to destroy you, hopefully.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what you're saying is, if you reach out to correct a mentee, that correction is because you love them.
Mm.
If at the beginning of the year you are setting high expectations for the members of the community, it is because you love them to give them high expectations. If you're setting high standards, how many books do you guys read a year in the community?
So the standard books that we do is, it's generally 4 and 5, because we really
Okay,
do an in-depth dive into those 5. Yeah, those are,
all
yeah.
right. Because I know there are people that before they join the community, maybe in the last 10 years, they have never finished one book. If that's
Yeah.
you in the chat box, type I relate. Don't hide. I'm going to prophesy. Type I relate in the chat box. Before you join this community, if you have never finished one book in a year, type I relate in the chat box. So for those in the community, when Dr. Ngafeeson is challenging you to read 5 books in a year, that high standard for you is because he loves you so much and he believes that if you build capacity, you empower yourself, you're going to do more than what you can ever imagine. There is no better way. You see, I have so many customers in the chat box. All right. So my next question to you is, again, everybody remember, we're trying to dig the heart of Dr. Madison to understand why he's doing this. So my next question to you is, when you bring people to this mentorship, many a times they're expecting a lot from you, which is good and understandable. But what do you expect from the mentees in terms of their heart posture, in terms of discipline, and in terms of taking responsibility? What is your expectation from them that can enable you to serve them better?
I think the first and most important thing when it comes to a heart posture is that of a learner, is to have a teachable spirit. Because, the thing that changed my entire life was when I decided to become a learner, a lifelong learner at that. So many people don't know this, but I'm not nearly as smart as many people think. But here's one thing that I'm very smart at. I'm very smart at learning. That's why I've studied all my life. I'm very smart at learning. So when I meet somebody for the first time, or when I meet somebody, especially somebody I'm meeting for the first time, or somebody that is very knowledgeable, somebody that is doing great things, see, I don't spend my time telling that person how nice I am, how great I am. I spend my time asking that person questions that only he can answer, or only her can answer. because that is how I become. So, because the little that I know, they know more than me. So instead of me telling the little that they know, they might learn, but my God, they have already learned so much. I need that thing move my way. So I will give them questions that make me learn. So I'm a learner at heart, and I want everyone in the mentorship program to have a teachable spirit, to be a learner. More learning happens when you listen than when you talk.
Exactly.
When you talk, you don't learn, you teach. But when you are listening, you learn. And since I put a 10 on everybody, it doesn't really matter to me. I can learn from a madman. It doesn't really matter to me. I can learn from a girl. I can learn from a boy. I can learn from a president. I can learn from a janitor. I can learn from everybody. So when I meet even a janitor, I would ask them, like, what makes you love your job? What is it? How long have you been here? What makes you show up to this job every day of your life, even though they don't pay you that much? What makes you do that? Because every person you meet has a story. If you can just shut up your beak, open your ears, you will hear things that will transform your life forever. So I have learned to become a learner, and I want them to have the spirit of a learner. I want them to have a teachable spirit. That is their heart posture. But then I want them to develop discipline, the discipline to read. Reading is one of the most rewarding skills any human being can ever have. Any human being, I'm telling you the fact that any human being can ever have.
Yeah.
I can almost say that, the more knowledgeable you are is in direct proportion to how much you read or how much you acquire new stuff. Let me say you don't read. Maybe you are able to hear and watch a lot, whatever, but that ability to take in new information, knowledge, wisdom, that is what is going to finally ooze out of you, right? Because as we understand that it's out of the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks. So if whatever you lay up in your abundance, it will show up. First of all, it is stored up, then it shores up. So what are you shoring in now that will show up later? What are you storing in now that will show up later? So the discipline to read is very, very important. And then the third thing is the discipline to apply. I think that the problem, if you ask me, like, what is the problem with our community in terms of the Black race, is that we have a hard time reading. And when we finally read, we don't apply. And that is the worst thing. In fact, there's no need to even read if you will not even apply it, right? The application is when you activate the principles to work for you. So there are people that will come to a program like this, they will hear something, oh my God, what he said was really nice. I hear what the other lady said was nice. I hear that was, that was a one powerful thing. I ask them, which of them have you applied? Well, no, I just, you just see what she was saying was that. But which have you applied? That's why when you come to a mentorship community and we're even studying a book, we're not going to be regurgitating what the person wrote in the book. Like, you already read it, so why do I come and tell you that that's what he said? You already know that. My question is, what are the implications of what he said or she said, and how can you apply that to your life in such a way you get the same result, if not better, than he or she got? It's the application. So my heart posture is teachableness, teachable spirit, learner, and then reading the skill, and then application, which is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. Incredible. We are doing an interview, but you are dishing out wisdom that, if applied, can literally change lives. So, you said something very important, and I always tell my people that, like everybody on this call right now, if you sit through this call, and you don't pick out things that you can integrate in your life immediately after this call, you were entertained, you were not transformed. Because you can watch a movie and your life remain the same, and you can read a book and your life can change. The difference between entertainment and transformation is you being able to hear something, and that thing that you heard has the power to challenge or change your habits, your daily lifestyle, and what you do. You see, and that's very, very important. And that's what Dr. Madison Ngafeeson is actually saying. Now, my next question to you is, now I'm going to flip the question now. You have been running this community for 9 years. And before that, I'm sure you've been doing mentoring before creating a structured community like this. Now, from your experience so far, what are the behaviors that you have seen, or what are the mindsets that you have seen that immediately breaks the flow of mentorship? And because there are people that have worked with you and they have produced incredible testimonies that we have heard already. But I can tell you that there are people that have stopped being part of this community because for one reason or another, and they cannot produce the same impact or testimony. So from the heart of a mentor, you must have been able to see that, oh, this person is producing better result because of what you have said already. But you have also seen other behaviors and mindsets that people have that immediately break the flow of mentorship, and you cannot give out the best to them the way you wanted to do. So what are those behaviors you have observed, and what are those mindsets?
So, here are three things that I would say. So first of all, there are people that maybe come to a place like this, and then they really know that they can do something better about their lives. They know that they should be doing something that will help them.
Yeah.
But then they walk out of here, and then they give themselves tons of excuses. Like, I think I'll do that next year. I mean, I heard that several times. Like, and the next year never comes, because by the time it's 2026, you notice that there's also a next year after 2026. And then after the other year, you notice that there's always a next year. There's always a next year. So they never, introduce or open themselves up to the process that can change their lives. And because they have never opened themselves up to that, they will never know what would have happened.
Yeah.
What would have happened if they did that. So that's where they say ignorance is bliss. Because they will never know what would have happened. They think like maybe they would have still been in the same position, but they don't know. So I can't blame them, right? Now, another mistake that people make is they engage in the process, and then they get a few results. They have gotten a small 100,000, then they run away. They believe that they already know everything.
Yeah.
And then they never get to replicate that result consistently. So that's a problem. See, mentorship is not something that you do for a day or 2 days or 2 hours. By the way, there are three concepts that are very similar today that we use. So there's mentorship, but then there is coaching.
Yeah.
And then there is counseling. So coaching and counseling typically are performance-based. So there you have a particular goal. For instance, I want to make 100,000 by the end of this year. Somebody helps you and say, okay, number one, and evaluates the situation, asks you good questions, and then positions you so that you can meet that goal. That is coaching. Now, mentorship is always more long-term, and it's never really performance-based. Most of the time, it's dealing with the person so that the person now acting on those things can produce new results. So it's not just teaching the person to produce new results directly. It's deeper. It goes a deeper layer than that. So there are people that start the process, and then they get a little bit of result, and they never appear again. Now, if you want to be warm, you have to stay close to the fire. if you want to be warm. Now, every time you are away from the fire, you will not be warm. Now, if you leave and then you go and then you return back another time, guess what? Now, when you come, sometimes you need momentum.
Yeah.
And, before you get the momentum that it takes to get to where you are, your peers are gone. Your peers are gone. You can never meet them again. So there are people who start the process and then they abandon the process. And then, and there are people who start the process and just, get comfortable in the process. You see, I am always, always challenging myself. I learned the principle that I am the average of the 5 people that I interact with the most, right? If I am the average of the 5 people that I interact with the most, it means for me to become better, all what I need to do is to keep changing my circle of 5.
Absolutely.
Now, let me put it this way. If you are top 5, if you are the top in your top 5, guess what? You are plateauing because everybody can only get as good as you. And so nobody goes more than that. Yeah. So what I teach people, and even financially, you are the average of the top, the first 5 people that you interact with the most. So here is what I teach people. So if you want to grow financially, all what you need to do is take 3 out of there and replace them with high net worth people in your circles. Yeah. Then they will push you up because you are at the 50,000. They are coming at 200 and 250. My God, very soon they're going to drag you from there because when you become part of their network, guess what is going to happen? When they have a job opening, guess who they are going to call? Yeah. Because they're going to call you. The job opening is 100. They are already 250. They don't need that one. Yeah. So they're going to call you. Guess what? You're going to find yourself going up. Absolutely. And now that is just financially, but it works for everything else. Professionally, emotionally. If they are already at a 9 on 10 emotionally, and you were a 5 on 10, and most of your people are 9 on 10s, they're going to pull you up from that 5. Very soon, before you know it, you are on 7. You are even dabbling with 8. Why? Because you are constantly changing that circle of 5 that you have. So the problem with some people is that they get complacent and then they stay where they are, the head of the class. So John Maxwell, my mentor, says to us, if you are the head of the class consistently, then you are in the wrong class.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so good. That's so good. We have 10 minutes to round up this conversation, which I wish we could do for 2 hours. Now, my next question to you is, you are into leadership and you are into mentorship. And I know that one major concept of John C. Maxwell leadership, philosophy is raising other leaders, and you have that embedded into you in such an incredible way. I therefore know that you have a heart where the people you are impacting and you're serving should also grow intentionally to become mentors.
Yeah.
So at what point should a mentee under you know it is time to begin mentoring others? What will you say to somebody who's wondering, can I mentor? Maybe people are coming to her or to that person right now and asking, please mentor me, and they're shying away from that responsibility. So at what point, because you have a heart for other people to also grow and mentor other people, at what point should that mentee of yours step out boldly and with confidence and begin to mentor other people?
Well, you know what? When somebody is involved with me, I would say that you can begin mentoring right away. And let me explain. We are human beings. Here is how a balanced human being should be like. A balanced human being should be having some intake, meaning food, you eat, right? And then you also pass the waste away. If you see a human being who's only eating and they are not releasing, they're going to explode.
Absolutely.
If you see a human being who is only giving out and not taking in, they're going to implode.
Mm.
A balanced life is a life that has inputs and outputs.
Absolutely.
So here is how I tell people, you need to have 3 people in your life for a balanced life. 3 people. One set of people are mentors. These are people that have gone ahead of you. They have done what you are only wishing you can do.
Absolutely.
Maybe they are traveling when you are only wishing, oh my God, I wish I could just, travel out of my province or travel out of my state, but they are traveling nations. You're like, oh my, you start looking like, oh my God, they're already achieving what you only wish you could do, right? Have a mentor, right? But then you also have to have someone that you are mentoring. Because in a balanced life, when you receive from your mentor, one of the easiest ways to apply your learning is to try to teach it. In fact, the people, academicians, they advise that if you think you have learned something, try to explain it to another person.
Yeah.
That is the way. In trying to explain it to the other person, number one, you are going to learn more than what you heard, and you're going to discover more from what you are trying to explain. And then you are not going to just help the other person to come up to a better place, but you are going to become a better person in that process of trying to hand it down. So, okay. So if you are if you permit me to use, a Christian lingo, you have to have a Paul in your life. That's somebody that's advanced, has gone ahead, you're looking up to. Then you have to have a Timothy in your life. That's somebody you are trying to pull in and telling them what you are learning. And it's not like you are perfect. You're just saying, my God, I learned this and it helped me. Maybe try this. Maybe it might help you. And you are pulling them. And then you have to have peers, people that are at the same level with you. All of you are struggling together. You compare notes. See, the reason why it's very important is that when you look at the people that have gone ahead of you, sometimes you can become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Now, how do you sit there and then you are struggling to look for the next meal, and then somebody has a private jet? Like, how do you go from not having a meal to eat to owning your own private jet? Like, it is too much a jump. It just paralyzes you. You can't even think about it, right? But watch this. When you look at your peers, you notice that, oh my God. So this guy here, they just managed so they just managed some managed food, just like me too. It kind of like makes you feel like, man, I'm not doing really badly. I have friends, like there are people too that are struggling like me. And then you guys can compare notes. You need those peers because they encourage you. But then don't get too comfortable. You need to look for somebody who is not even where you are, because I don't care where you are. There is always someone who has less than what you have, and you can lift them up in that domain, in that particular area. So that is how a balanced life is. So what I encourage people to do is have these 3 people in your life. When you have these 3, life will become worth living. And that is how you can, you can amplify your life and amplify your impact, because that you are not only receiving, but you are giving, and then you are also having shared input from the people around you. Balanced life.
Yeah. That is so good. That is so good. If I could relate to what you just said, I started my journey in this speaking and consulting years ago, probably the age of 19, 20, and so on. And it was very in Kumbo. And there was a time I was teaching these things, and one of my guys said, this thing you're teaching does not apply in this locality. And then I told them jokingly, maybe it's like the Spirit of God came over me like it did over Saul when he was about to be anointed king. And I said, this thing I'm teaching you, I'm going to apply it, and I'll keep teaching it, and it will take me around the world. Years later, before the age of 30, I had traveled, 20 countries plus, and just speaking and consulting and coaching. And these guys were like, one guy said in Pidgin, that I think they work here. The first time I traveled and I shared a picture on social media, he called me and said, "That I think they work here," right? So now, what does that mean? Many times, it takes a lot of a big heart and courage. And what challenged me was it. One of the best things that happened to me was I easily got access to YouTube to begin to see that speakers in America are living this life. So I now set my bar very high. And I challenged myself. There was one thing I wrote, I always said a lot. I said, I'm going to become so good in Cameroon that nobody can ignore me. That was one of my major goals. I'm going to become so good at this thing that nobody can ignore me. And I've gotten into rooms in Cameroon that nobody really, no godfather, no godmother. They're like, when they get stuck in something, they're like, get this guy, he can sort it out for you. Right? And that challenges a lot when you begin to look at that. I'm just emphasizing on make sure you have somebody at the top, that a role model, a mentor that can challenge you to aim higher. For example, the first time I ever charged 1 million francs to speak for 1 hour in Cameroon, guess what? I heard Lisa Nichols talking about, I was like, wait, a speaker can charge $10,000 to speak? It challenged me to start charging 1 million francs to speak. Guess what? I was rejected. You are too expensive. I said, no problem. But there was a time that I got paid 1 million francs, 2 million francs, even 3 million francs to speak for 2 hours in Cameroon. And people are like, is that possible? Yes. But because I saw somebody who is living the dream, although not in the same locality, but it gave me a picture that, hey, it is possible. You have something that if you package well, market it well, deliver it well, somebody will definitely be willing to pay for what you have to offer. As we round up, mentorship in this community, there are people from different backgrounds, industries. There are doctors in your community. There are, brain docs in this community. So it is a little risk to be coaching people with incredible careers, brains in what they do. So somebody may be wondering, like me, how do you remain teachable and so knowledgeable that you can serve people from different backgrounds, different levels of educations, different level of influence, but they're still able to sit under you and drink from your wisdom? How do you stay teachable and remain relevant to the people that you're serving as a mentor?
Simple answer, because I also have mentors. And I have mentors that have gone so far ahead of me. And not only I have mentors, because remember I just told you about the balanced life. The balanced life is a life where you are looking up to mentors, you have peers, and then you have people under you. So there are some of the things that I have become better at, just trying to lead these people. My tribe. My tribe is my most precious asset. Guess what? When I come up with a new teaching that I've not taught anywhere, guess who are the first people I will teach? Guess who are the people that will get a feedback from?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I've refined it and then I go now and sell it out to people who, and they will say, oh my God, this guy is powerful.
So
right.
good.
But
Exactly.
I tested it in my community. I do my alpha testing and my beta testing here. So they make me better. So they contribute to my life. They add to my life. So I would say that it's important that we understand that. So they add value to my life. But I have mentors that I look up. John Maxwell, every year, and that cost me a lot of money. Now, by the way, see, I'm in a place in my life where there is almost no year that I spend less than $30,000 for personal development. Like that's just almost that year doesn't exist again, But when I started with $10 and buying a book. Buying a book for $10 at time was like, man, I bought my $10 for a book. But now you come to a place where you are going to pay somebody for how many weeks, and you can, whether you show up or you don't show up, that money is going to disappear. And then you have to be there. You have to learn. So So I learn from my mentors and then I learn from my peers. I see what they are doing. I go to what they are doing. They come to what I am doing. I share with them my wisdom. They share with them their wisdom. And then I learn from my community, the people because the impact of what I do is seen in their lives. So when I listen to them, I then get to give clues as to what works and what doesn't work. So I stay relevant. But one thing that I want to be able to share that really changed the game for me was what happened to me about 12 years ago. I was approaching 40 at that time, and I was going through a very deep, deep crisis in my marriage. You know, for the first time in my life, I was thinking about the D word, like, hey, maybe I'm going to part ways with this lady and all of that, right? And in the midst of all of that, I was praying about it as a person of faith, like, God, oh my Lord, help me, help me. I'm going to lose my marriage. What's going on? And I went to the basement of my home and I cried to God and like, hey. And then I felt like I heard a voice of God saying, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, I said, well, God, you know what? I came to you because I cannot do anything about it. If I could do it, I would have done it myself. God said, what are you going to do about it? And then it took a process of about 1 to 2 weeks or so. I can't remember precisely. But I took a piece of paper like this one and began to write what I call my legacy statements. And I have put together 5 legacy statements. And these 5 statements and these 5 sentences are what have guided my life for over 12 years now. And those are the things that have taken me to platforms I never dreamt of, to countries I've never dreamt, to meet people that I had no business meeting. And here is what really happened. So when I sat down, I said, I'm going to summarize my life to just 5 things. So till today, my life is still about 5 things. So number 1, I want to be known as a man who loved his wife like Christ loved the church. I am committed to that with all of my heart. Anybody who knows me truly and intimately knows that I'm committed to that. Number 2, I want to be known as a father who raised his children in the way they should go. So I'm very intentional with my children because they are my seed and they are the ones who carry my legacy. Number 3, I want to be known as a professor who taught more than data analytics, business, and all of that. I want to be known as somebody who taught life. So I'm very, very, I don't just try, I teach my students what will make them successful in life, not just what will make them have an A grade. That A grade, other people can do that even better than me. But I want to teach them to be good at life because life is more than an A grade. And then number 4, I wanted to leave a legacy of someone who loved and served his beloved fatherland. That's Cameroon. That's why you see me going to Cameroon and invest millions into Cameroon every year of my life since that time. And lastly, number 5, I want to be remembered as a leader who helped men and women around the world discover, pursue, and achieve their God-given purpose for life. That's what I live for. Everything that I do, I ask 5 questions. How is that going to help me become a better husband? If it is not, thank you. See you next time. How is that going to help me become a better father? How is that going to help me become a better professor? How is that going to help me become a better servant of my country? And lastly, how is that going to help me be the leader that I should be and impact men and women around the world? That is how I measure my success. Right. And for me, success is these 5 things for the rest of my life for as long as I live.
Incredible, incredible. If you were not inspired to work on your legacy statement, take that as an assignment. I challenge you to do that. I always fondly say that there is an age that when you get to, you stop pampering what is going to destroy you tomorrow. And I always suggest that from the age of 30, start putting your life together because you don't have that much time as you think. Now, we are out of time. So I'm going to ask you questions that require very short responses.
Okay.
I have more questions, but I have to shut the hell up. Number one question is, now, we are running up the year as a community, you and this community. And the next year is approaching and it's a new season for a new goal for the community. Now, what is the one habit or the one discipline that from your heart as a mentor, that if the members of your community practice throughout next year as you mentor them, what is that one habit or that discipline that if they apply as they work with you, it will radically change their growth for next year and maybe the rest of their lives?
The word would be ritual.
Mm.
Have growth rituals. What is a ritual? A ritual is something that you do all of the time, almost religiously.
Yeah.
What makes people successful is a few things that are done as rituals every day for a long time.
Incredible.
It is not many things that are done in 2-minute sessions.
Yeah.
And then done repeated in 10 years. No.
Yeah.
So have growth rituals that you decide that you will not stop and you will keep doing them till the end of your life. If you do that, you will accelerate your growth in ways that you did not believe.
You know why I was laughing? I was teaching my people yesterday on a Zoom call, and I was teaching them about consecration, that they should consecrate them onto some things that for the rest of their lives, those things will consistently create an incredible impact in their capacity. And I was giving them examples. Since 2011 to date, there's a number of hours I read every day, and I write at least 300 words of any article every day. I have done that from 2011 to today. And it has drastically changed my life. When I made up my mind that I was going to become so good at what I do that nobody can ignore me, that was 2012. And I made up my mind I was going to study these things around business, strategy, organizational development, and all these things. Wow. And I dedicated 5 hours every day of studies. And that drastically shifted everything for me. I always tell people, there was a BBC journalist who interviewed me. He once came to Kumbo one time. So he know where Kumbo is found in the world. And it was like, he asked a simple question: how do you leave Kumbo to be on the global stage like this? And I said, God, social media, and crazy hard work. Mm. Because there are just some things that when you know, the world cannot ignore you. The world will literally run after you to work with you. Mm. My last question to you, and there are questions in the chat box. I think somebody will coordinate that. Please, you can ask that. Now, we have had an incredible conversation. And the aim of this conversation was for you to pour out your hearts to the people. Although that heart is so big, we cannot exhaust how big that heart is. But what final responsibility do you want each and every person here to carry as a result of this conversation? What is that responsibility you want them to live with and begin to apply in their life as a result of this conversation?
This is what I want to say. Do yourself the favor of leading you well.
Wow.
You owe it to you to lead yourself well. Here is why this is important. Trump may never lead you well. Your president, wherever you are, may never lead you well. But the question is not somebody who abuses you. The real question is when you turn around and abuse yourself for so long by leading yourself in the wrong direction. Stop going in the wrong direction. Stop going nowhere too fast. Stop, turn around, and decide that you are the captain of your life, that you are the pilot of your airplane, that you are the captain of your vessel, and start saying, I will lead myself well. So if that would take for me to have mentors in my life that will give me a baseline of wisdom that I can thrive on, I am going to do that. If that is going to cost me investing my finances, my time, my energy to do that, then I will do that. You see, someone once said, he says, give me a piece of job to chop down a tree. Give me, or I think they said, give me 2 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 1 hour to file my axe or to sharpen my axe. So spend time to sharpen your axe. When you are sharpening your axe, your fellow friends would have done about 500 shots at the tree. But here's the thing: they are going nowhere. They're going to get tired. The thing is going to stay there. But the last 1 hour you are in, you are going to do it in 30 minutes. Sharpen the axe. Mentorship is the art of sharpening the axe so that when you really get at the job, you get it down too fast that everybody else is wondering how you got there, but you got there. So here's my thing. I encourage you that you will become good, excellent at leading you. Because here is what I discovered, Dr. Joybert. I discovered that the most difficult person to lead is not you, Joybert, it's me. How do I get up every morning and tell me, study the Word of God, meditate, pray? How do I get up every morning and tell me, go and exercise for no less than 1 hour every day? So let me tell you my morning routine today. I got up, I read my Word of God, I meditated, I prayed, then I went and played pickleball for 1 hour with my friends, and then sweated and my body was aching like pain. I come back, take a shower, go to church. Then I came back from church, went and saw my son off to shave it, do his hair. Then I prepare for this broadcast, and then we are on this broadcast. Show me your agenda for the day, and I tell you who you are becoming. So change that. Decide that you will lead yourself. What you cannot lead yourself to do, you cannot experience it in your life.
Incredible, incredible. You were talking about self-leadership, and I was just thinking of she is one of your members in the community, Sheila Ngoles, where she runs an incredible organization back in Cameroon. And I had a privilege of being, one of the founding country directors and consultants. And we have a couple of courses there, and one of the major courses is self-leadership. Over the years that I trained young leaders in that program, the biggest testimonies came from self-leadership course. If you know how to lead yourself, there is no goal you cannot achieve. And I want to challenge you as I end my section of asking questions to Dr. Ngafeeson. I want to challenge you. I always fondly say that hope without action is hopeless. And I always challenge people that when you sit under a discussion like this, there are many things that you can pick out from this. But if a discussion can help you sharpen 3 things or enhance 3 things, you're going to succeed in this life. Number 1, a discussion should help you sharpen your skill set. Number 2, a discussion or any form of knowledge should help you sharpen your strategy. Number 3, a discussion like this should help you sharpen the systems around you. Show me an individual with skill, strategy, and systems in their lives. Give them time. They will manifest their greatest potentials and succeed at the highest level. That even when that person will look at themselves, they'll say, I did not know I could go this far in life. Thank you so much, Dr. Ngafeeson, for inviting me to have a sit down with you. I did not only talk with you, I definitely learned a lot from your experience as a husband, as a father, and of course, as somebody who is ahead of me in the same industry And thank you for pouring out your heart. And I'm sure that every young person that is here was definitely challenged to become a better young person in whatever they are called to do. All right, everybody. My name is Javnyuy Joybert, and they fondly call me Mr. Remarkable. Cheers.
So I just want to say thank you, my good friend, Dr. Joybert. Thank you for coming. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to just share my heart. And I want you guys follow him. You know, he is on social media. He is the king of social media. I mean, social media with transformation. If you are not interested in transformation, you're interested in that in entertainment, then please, then go and look for something else. But then if you are interested in transformation, this is the person. Whether it's on Facebook or it's on Instagram or it's on LinkedIn, he is all over the place.